Thanks everyone for joining. It's 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Canada on Saturday. So for this session, we're expecting at least 100 people. We had over 116 people registered, but now we have 13. So I will give 2 more minutes to see if we can get a good attendance and start. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for people to join, if you can, in the chat section, please let us know your name. First name is fine. Where are you joining from? What part of Canada? What part of the UK? What part of Nigeria? What part of the world are you joining from? Just so that we get a sense of where all the different participants are joining from. So just put it in chat and say, where are you from? And also say, are you an Agile newbie? Are you an expert? Are you just curious? Just want to get a sense of who we have on the call. So show us some love in the chat section. Okay. We have Juliana from Ireland. Yay. How is it over there? Okay. In the chat section, please put in your name and where you are joining us from, and also add your level of expertise or knowledge with Agile. Agile newbie, Agile experts, just curious. I don't even know how I got into this chat. Yay, we have Josephine from Manchester. Wow, our UK folks are winning. We have from the UK. Thanks, Frida from Canada. We're in Canada. Canada is big. I'm liking Canada is big. So let's be specific. Are you joining from Toronto, Hamilton, Mississauga, Vaughan? So we have Vaughan in the house. I love it. Thanks, Faye from Orangeville. We have Obiajulu from London. I love that. Is it called the Ireland? I mean, I don't think the Canadians on this call will agree with you. I think the weather, the Irish weather is a walk in the park for what we see here. But thanks for joining. But I did hear that you're getting some Arctic temperature in Ireland as well. Okay, we have Oyinda from Mississauga. We have our British Columbia folks in the house. Yeah, we have, thank you for sending us some West Coast love. Toronto in the house, Agile newbie. I love it. Rita from Nigeria, I skipped that one when I was talking. Thanks for joining, Rita. And I know it's in the evening over there in Nigeria, so as well as in the UK. So guys, thank you for joining at this time. Thank you. I was hoping someone was going to ask me that question. So I will get to introductions, of course. There's going to be an introduction slide, but I am joining today from Hamilton in Canada. So Hamilton is in Ontario, on the Niagara Escarpment. So I'm just 30, 40 minutes away from the beautiful Niagara Falls, just in my background. If I lived on a very tall building, or I had one of those, if I was on the CN Tower, I'll probably see Niagara every day from where I'm at. Okay, Who else has joined us? Please, if you missed it, I was just asking for folks to send some love in the chat to say where they're joining us today from. And we have folks joining from different parts of the world today. So in the chat section, let's know where you're joining from. Regina in the house. Thanks for joining, BO from Virginia. I love it too, Roma. I think one of the things that always brings folks together, about there's food, there's music, and there's learning, right? Like, it does not see color. It's all about learning. It's all about growth. So it's so beautiful to see so many people joining. Okay, I will give folks one more minute and then we'll go ahead and start. Okay, so thanks everyone for joining today. Today we're having a Scrum information session. My name is Noyanu Pamela Anoliefo. So you can call me Pamela or Noye. People call me different things, but my name is Pamela Anoliefo, and I will be hosting this information session. Just to share the agenda for today so that you can understand what we're going to be covering. So I'll do a bit of introduction about Redluxe Consulting, and I am the founder of Redluxe as well as the lead trainer at Redluxe. I'll talk about our team, and then we'll talk about what is Agile, because that's what you're here for. Understand the trends in Agile, because for every concept or any thing that's taking over the world or that we're seeing is growing or is becoming more commonplace, there's something driving it, and it's usually those trends. What are those trends that are driving Agile? And why is this a thing for businesses? And why should people take notice? Why should people take notice about Agile and consider this as an alternative career path? Then we'll talk about Scrum progression. What does it look like for you if you decide to get into this field, become a Scrum Master? Is there like a place you peak, or are you going to grow? And the reason why it's important is because a lot of us have made decisions over time about careers that we took without really looking at it long term to say, what does it look like for me in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, so that you don't get to a point where you're stuck. So we'll cover that. And then finally, we'll talk about how can you become a Scrum Master if you currently are not a Scrum Master, and that's where Redluxe comes in. And after that, we're going to have a panel discussion. Panel discussion is going to really be Q&A format, so free form, where you submit your questions and answer, and then we wrap up. So I just want to mention that it is going to be interactive, but the interaction will start from the panel discussion. So bear with me while we go through the presentation. And then we get to the panel discussion where it's interactive, and we can take questions and answers, and then give people opportunity to ask any questions that they have, if that's okay. And so I see some people just joined. If you joined, please in the chat section, let us know where you are joining us from today, what part of Canada, what part of the world, and what is your level of understanding of Agile? Are you a newbie, expert, or just let us know. So about us, who's Redluxe? We provide professionals and businesses with world-class training and coaching, empowering them with new skills to make the successful transition to Agile and Scrum. That's what we do in a nutshell. Simple. Training, coaching, training to upskill you, coaching to help you to grow your skill to a point of maturity to deliver value, to become confident. So a little bit about myself. My name is Pamela Nolefo, and I have over 13 years of experience. I'm currently a release train engineer. So release train engineer in the skilled Agile environment is kind of like a chief Scrum Master, or what's called a Scrum Master of Scrum Masters. I've also been a Scrum Master, project manager, product manager, and business analyst. I've always worked in technology. My bachelor's is in computer engineering, and I have a master's in innovation and entrepreneurship. A bit about the industries I've worked in. So the core of my experience has been in financial services. So from day one, I've always worked at the banks, but I've moved around industries a few times. I've worked in retail, insurance, I've worked at nonprofit organizations, startups, and really with deep experience in the cards, so credit cards, debit cards, prepaid, acquiring, payment, and e-commerce. That's been my experience. I am really passionate about coaching and mentoring and empowering people to grow in their careers and basically take control of how they grow and where they want to. So that's a bit about me. I love to mentor, love to teach. And so that's why this, I'm very passionate about what I do, and glad that you can spend time on a Saturday with me today. Okay, let's see who's joined. We have Chioma from Kirchner. Thanks for joining. Laurentia, Agile newbie from Etobicoke. Okay, thank you. So to make this to make sure that we're capturing your questions, I will invite you to go to a website called slido.com. You do not need to register on Slido, just do a bit of a demonstration. So go to slido.com, enter this code in Slido. When you get there, you can submit your questions. Once we get to the Q&A section, we will respond to them. So as I'm talking and you're thinking of your questions, please go to slido.com, put this code, keep it open. As you think of your questions, they will be answered. I'll just show you a bit of a demo of Slido. So this is what Slido looks like if you joined. Someone's going to send the code in the chat, so pay attention to the chat in case you missed the code while I was talking. So you just go in, let's say this is the code. You put in the code here, so in case the code was TTTTT, something like that, click enter and it will take you to the right screen and submit your questions. So please go to Slido now. Ugochi, if you can put it in the chat as well, so that people can follow along with the videos. So go to Slido, submit your questions, and we will answer them in the order that you submitted it. So let's get to the business of today. I can't tell from the chat how many people are Agile newbies today, but I did see one or two. So today, we want to talk about what is Agile. We've been hearing about Agile, right? What is Agile? So in Agile was first developed for software development, right? But now Agile has taken over the world in such a way that you can use it on different kinds of projects. So even if it's a project that is regulatory, even if it's about developing some kind of documentation or policies, you can actually apply Agile outside of technology to do the work. So Agile is a development approach that allows teams to deliver small, faster, and more frequent value to their customers. The key is small, faster, and more frequent, right? So Agile does not look at a big bang approach to delivering value. So imagine if, you know how your banking app, for example, right? Imagine if the bank decided, I want to launch an app with every single feature that I believe that my customer would require. It means as a customer, you're going to wait for that app for the longest time, probably up to 2 years, right? So what happens while you're waiting? How do you do your transactions? How do you do your transactions from your room, from your plane, from anywhere in the world where you are? If they delay the app, then it means you're going into the bank every single time to do things that you could easily do from your phone, your mobile device that's literally like a computer in your hands, right? So what Agile does is that it helps teams to deliver small, because if you're delivering small, you can deliver fast. If you want to deliver a big functionality, it's going to take you time. So small, faster, more frequent value to their customers. That's what Agile really is. And it promotes an iterative approach which delivers value in small consumable releases. So if I'm going to give an app that allows you to view your account in the first month, then maybe the next one I can allow you to then move from one account to the other. So iterative is that you got a small feature or capability, and then at the next release, next time they do a new app release, you're getting additional functionality layered on top of that. And that's how it continues to go. Okay, I want to transfer outside of the bank. Then they keep on delivering that small. That way you're not getting your full app with all the features that you know you will ever use. You're getting at least enough value to be able to do some transactions while they continue to release that. Now, one of the good things about releasing in small chunks, think about it. If the bank thought that a customer wanted a specific functionality today, let's say today, December 2023, and it took them 1 year to give you what you wanted a year ago. If your taste changed or the industry changed or something changed, if they launch that software is already obsolete. The market has moved and that software might not be usable because maybe user needs have changed. So that's the good thing about Agile. Agile allows you to deliver faster, small pieces, and it allows you to respond to change, because if something changes in the industry, in what users want, then you are able to change and layer on that new functionality that your users want, rather than waiting big bang approach to launch a product in 1 year that nobody is going to use anymore because they want something else. So I would use this is, so you know, everyone knows about Mona Lisa. So think about Mona Lisa. Let's say you commissioned a painting of a woman, right? If it was the old way of doing things where you say, I want something, and they tell you it's going to be ready in 2 months, what you're coming to see at the end of 2 months is the fully completed painting. What about if you don't like the painting at the end of the day, right? So with Agile, maybe the first time developers will give you a sketch and a filled out outline of what the face of the woman will look like, right? You can give feedback. So one of the things is that you're collecting feedback in incremental and iterative development. And you're like, okay, yeah, I think this makes sense, but make changes here, right? And so it keeps going on and on. You're getting feedback. They're releasing these small details for you to get your feedback faster. And you're getting a sense of, this is what I'm going to get at the end of this, at the end of development, right? So that you can say, do I want this or not? It keeps going. This cycle goes through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You are seeing as your picture is taking shape. And at the end of the day, you get a fully functional product. In this case, the painting of Mona Lisa. So that's Agile. One of the things that struck me as I was preparing for this training, and I've not used this to train anybody, but it occurred to me, for those who have stylists make clothes for them. You know, there's always this joke of what I ordered versus what I got, right? And it's a joke, but if we think about it, for those who watch how designers in the luxury world create clothes for celebrities in the hot couture world, you realize that as they're making a dress for you, you're coming for fittings, right? The clothes have not been stitched together. It's probably like swats of fabric, and they place it all around you with pins and kind of like looking at it. The stylist steps back, designer steps back, looks at it and like, no, and then changes, right? You come for the next fitting, you come for the next fitting. That is an example of Agile in the fashion world, because you are not going to end up with a dress at the end of the day that does not fit, that does not look like what you envision. You actually have opportunity to even say, like, make these tweaks. And that way, you're not shocked with what you see at the end of the day. So now, so Agile. What is Agile? Okay, great. We now know what is Agile. Agile itself is really an umbrella term. There's so many things under Agile. So when you eventually do a training on Agile and Scrum, you will get deep information into what Agile really, really is, right? What are different frameworks in Agile? But I just want to touch on some of these trends in Agile that are kind of driving the industry, because right now there's a big push for companies, industries to go Agile. And that's also driving the demand for Agile professionals, such as Scrum Masters, Agile coaches, release train engineers, and all of that. There are trends in Agile that are big right now that we need to pay attention to. So the first is scaled Agile. I'll just touch on it briefly, because this is not a training session. This is more of an information session to let you know why you should pay attention to what's going on in the industry for Agile, and why you should consider that if you do want to make a switch. We'll talk about Agile and DevOps. So I'm not going to touch on Agile and DevOps. It's a whole different beast on its own. But we'll be focusing on scaled Agile a bit, business agility, and then Scrum. Scrum, the most popular Scrum that everybody knows. Even if you are not in technology, unless you've been sleeping under a rock, you probably have a friend of a friend, even if your friend is not a Scrum Master, a friend of a friend of a friend's friend who's a Scrum Master. So we'll talk about scaled Agile, business agility, and Scrum. So let's touch on scaled Agile. So the scaled Agile is, or popularly known as SAFe, is what we call the scaled Agile framework, allows Agile practices to be scaled across large organizations. So think about places like Amazon, Tesla, bringing it home, like TD Bank, CIBC, Scotia, RBC. These are big companies that employ upwards of 50,000 people or more, right? TD employs about 95,000 people, 95,000 people and counting, right? How do these big organizations use Agile to deliver value remembering that most of the work that each of the different teams in this organization do are they're not independent. They are actually interconnected in a way. If you're making a change, you probably have to make a change to the call center, to how call center people take calls, to how the branch offer those products and all of that. How do banks scale Agile across different teams? A bank wouldn't have one. If all these big companies will not have one Scrum team, right? They will have several. They will have hundreds of these teams. And maybe they have thousands of these teams. So for large organizations that have a significant number of employees and teams working on delivering products, most of those teams will work at the team level, focused on their product. But scaled Agile allows scaling of Agile practice across these teams so that all of the work they're doing really fits into the whole vision of the organization. So organizations will usually have what they call like their OKRs, right? Objectives and key results, right? So this is how companies scale Agile teams across, right? And so it will operate at 3 levels. There'll be individual teams working on on products or projects or initiatives, right? But these teams would tie into a bigger portfolio. So it might be, we have a personal lending portfolio, program, right? And in the personal lending program, there would be 15 teams, 50 teams, all working towards the goals of that program, right? And then programs then fit into portfolios. So portfolios would be like big overarching initiatives that actually fit into the objective of the company. So for example, the company might say, we want to be the go-to bank for newcomers to Canada, for example, right? And that involves like different kinds of initiatives, right? It could be we want to be giving them like good cards that help them with their credit score. They don't have a credit score. They don't have them. How can we give them cards that would allow them grow their credit, access to funding while they're navigating their time in Canada? How can we give them lines of credit, regular savings accounts, access to advisors? That can be all of the things in that portfolio. And each of these different things I mentioned in that portfolio might be programs, right? And then in all these programs, there'll be different teams working on different parts of the system, different products that allows the company to be able to offer this capability and then take advantage of the market share for the newcomers in Canada. So that's a bit about scaled Agile. More to come on that, yeah, at a detailed training on scaled Agile. So that is just to show you why does this really matter for businesses, for like an Amazon, like a test, like a Twitter, like a TD, like an RBC. Why does this matter to them? Is it just because it's not because they're hearing that other companies are going Agile. There's a reason. Making sure that you are able to stay relevant as a business. So let's talk a bit about business agility. And this is a good segue from where I was coming from in scaled Agile, right? Business agility is really one of the things that drives companies to consider scaled Agile. So businesses need to respond to changes in the market. Why? Not just because it makes sense, right? But because if they don't, in a few years, they will die. The landscape today is constantly changing, so many disruptors coming up at every point in time that if you do not adapt, you will die. So the key things here is rapidly respond to changes in the market, right? Because they don't work in silos. They are competing for customers, for users, for market share. And without that, they will not thrive in a changing environment. The key thing, however, is that it's all about the customer. We all know that. If once you get into Agile, you understand that everything that is done with the customer at the heart of it. So if you notice, you see the customer here, right? It's all about business agility. That's why that circle is there. It's all about customer centricity. Customer centricity. How do we meet our customers' needs, right? So businesses must be more flexible to change. And for businesses to become agile, it's not just about talking about it, right? They must do several things. They will have to change their strategy, change how they're organized, and also change their operations to take advantage of all these opportunities in the marketplace. And so change their operations could be things like what we've talked about is creating agile teams to be able to deliver value faster, respond to change faster, because in Agile, teams start to become more empowered to make some of the decisions themselves around how they launch products, around how they can make these changes. Of course, guided by the strategy of the organization and the vision, right? So it really helps companies thrive in the marketplace. And so I'll pause here and say, please don't forget to go to Slido as I'm talking to put in your questions, because I'm pretty sure you have a lot of questions as I'm doing this presentation. So feel free to put those questions so that we can, when we get to the Q&A, we'll be able to answer it. So now we see, this is why companies are going agile. They need to stay alive. Now we come to the interesting one, Scrum. Scrum is probably one of the biggest trends in Agile. And from studies and research, it's really going to be around for a very long time, very long time. So according to the Scrum Guide, so the Scrum Guide is a really concise, easy to read guide about Scrum. I always call it the guide for Scrum professionals. So anyone who's in a Scrum team, whether you're a Scrum Master, product owner, developer, QE, whoever it is you are, it's your guide because you're part of a team and you need to understand, why do we do this? How do we do it? And what are some of the best practices? So according to the Scrum Guide, Scrum was developed in the 1990s. So Scrum has been around for a very long time. It's been around, right? But it's becoming more commonplace. If you're not doing Scrum, it's almost like you're backward, right? So it's a lightweight framework. Lightweight, I put lightweight in bold because Scrum is easy to implement. It's easy to implement. Like, you can take a training in the organization and you can actually set up a Scrum team. Easy to implement. So remember, I said easy to implement. In the implementation of it, it is easy. In the doing, that's the part that becomes difficult, right? Which is why Scrum is like that. It's like, let's make it very easy for people to get into this initiative, and then we can coach them to get better at what they do. They will learn by themselves. They will do it, they will learn and figure out what makes sense. So it's a lightweight framework that helps people, teams, and organizations generate value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. So I'll just pause here and mention that Scrum is not Agile. Agile is not Scrum. And I'll explain what I mean, right? People use them interchangeably. Agile itself consists of different frameworks, of which Scrum is one of them. So if you think of Agile as an umbrella, Scrum is just one of the things under it. There are other kinds of ways there are other frameworks that Agile team uses. So we have Kanban, extreme programming, less. There's so many of them. Scaled Agile is one of them, but that's for scaling. It's a scaling framework for larger organizations. So Scrum is just one of the frameworks under Agile. So like, they should not be used interchangeably. So Scrum is an Agile framework. Let's put it like that. It is an Agile framework, but Agile is not a Scrum framework. So just wanted to get it out there. So it is a framework for teams to deliver value. I will play a video after this, just so that folks can see a video about that explains more about Scrum from scrumalliance.com. So Scrum is suited for really small teams. If you remember when we talked about Agile, about delivering small, faster, and frequent changes, if you had 50 people on a team and call them a Scrum team, they can't deliver value simply because, have we ever seen 50 people agree on anything or move fast on anything? There's always going to be people that you have to pull along. There's always going to be people that never believe that anything is going to work. There's going to be like the people who don't want to pull their weight and be hiding behind other people to do the work. There's going to be people that do the work, but they just get pissed because other people are not pulling their weight. So that's why Scrum is suited for small and nimble teams, because in a team of smaller people, in a small team, people can deliver value faster. Communication happens faster. You know who everybody is, and you can manage some of these potential issues that always happen with teams in a smaller team. So Scrum is suited for a team of 3 to 10 people, so that communication is seamless and suitable for the team to continue to deliver frequent value. All right. And one of the things about Scrum is that Scrum, if you read the Scrum guide, is to implement Scrum, there are several things that are important to focus on. When you get into a deeper Scrum training, after this, the deeper Scrum training, because today is just to give you an introduction to Scrum, what it's all about, what are the roles, and then if you do decide to take a training on Scrum, you will now get the full picture of the roles, all of the roles, all of the events, and all of the artifacts. But the important thing to know about a Scrum team, which if it does not happen, if it does not have, then they can't deliver value. Very key is 3 important roles. Very key. For Scrum to work, there are 3 roles: the Scrum Master, the Product Owner, and the developers. From this picture, you can tell that 2 of the roles are single individuals, and the other role is a collection of people, right? So, and it's possible in a team that there's 1 developer, right? But at every point in time, there can never be 2 Scrum Masters and 2 Product Owners in a Scrum team. It's no more a Scrum team, it's something else, right? So that's Scrum for you. It's about delivering value. It's about creating small team. I call them a task force. Creating a task force to deliver frequent changes, and it will have these 3 roles. Apart from the 3 roles, Scrum has what we call events. So there are things that must happen. They have the daily stand-up, sprint planning, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. So let's just review a bit about these roles, because it's important to know what these roles entail. Who is the Scrum Master? The Scrum Master is usually called the servant leader of the Scrum team. Key here is servant and leader, right? They didn't say leader of the Scrum team where everything revolves around the Scrum Master and the Scrum Master says what needs to happen. No, servant. They lead the team by 7, so they don't mandate, they don't push, they don't tell them exactly what to do. They help them. They help the team find ways to work better. The key thing about Scrum is that the teams must be self-organizing. So self-organizing means that they determine how best to do their work. And so a Scrum Master cannot come and tell teams how to do their work. They will help them, coach them to find ways to use Scrum to do their work. So the Scrum Master is primarily responsible for coaching teams. Primarily responsible for coaching the teams, product owner, and the business and the organization in the Scrum process. So they're the ones that will teach the team about this is what Scrum is, this is how we should do, this is how Scrum works, this is how we can use Scrum to help you guys deliver value. These are the things, these are the processes in Scrum, these are the events in Scrum, and this is how we can do, this is how we're going to do these ceremonies and events. Not how they do their work, right? It's how to apply Scrum in the team setting. That's what Scrum Masters are there for. Now, the other important role in a Scrum team is the product owner. So the product owner, essentially, very straightforward, as you can see, owns the product. So any product that is being delivered today at any organization, there's somebody responsible for why do we want to do this product? Why does it matter to us? Who are we putting this product for? And what of the product being developed? They own all the decision about what feature the product should contain, how it should look, and all of that, because they understand the user needs. And then the third role, the developers, or the sometimes called the Scrum team too, because developers consist of not just people who do the development, there's also people who do the testing, right? They're also part of the development team. So this is a self-organizing, like I said, they know how to do their work, cross-functional. They are cross-functional. They have all the different roles required. So if, for example, you are building an app and you need someone who's going to do the code at the back end, and you need someone who's going to do the UI, that team should contain all of that. So different functions, enough the functions required to deliver a product. So developers are the people who do the work. They have the skills to do the work, to create the product, so that the product can be successful and meet the user's need. Now that you have an idea of, you know, what's a Scrum team look like? Why does it even matter? Why are they there? Why do we, what do they really do? Let's talk about what are the careers in Scrum. So should you decide to be a Scrum Master, there are multiple roles beyond Scrum, and those roles depend on your interest, the level of expertise you've had over the years, that helps you. So based on the years of experience, skill level, and expertise, the growth outlook for Agile professionals and Scrum Master is very bright and rewarding. Scrum Masters can progress into some of these roles, depends on them, right? You can be as a Scrum Master, you can become a senior Scrum Master. You can determine, oh, I want to become a product owner. You want to focus more on the product, or you want to become an Agile coach. So Agile coaches are not in Scrum teams per se, but they go out, they exist in organizations to coach teams to get better at Scrum, to help them answer some gray area questions that they might have. If you think about a football team, footballers know how to play football, right? But everybody needs a coach in sports, right? Any sport. You're playing basketball, gymnastics, tennis, you need a coach. So just the same thing in Scrum. Scrum Masters can grow into coaches. Then release train engineers. So release train engineer is for skilled Agile environment. So these are Scrum Masters who are at the program level, right? So at the program level, they oversee multiple Scrum teams, and then they have solution train engineers who are at the solution level, who are also like at a higher level than Scrum Masters. Then apart from that, there's governance role in Agile. So for every time a company implements Scrum, they would have a team that sits down to develop all of the documentation, all of the interaction. How will Agile work in a company? What are the things that we need to continue to support the growth of Agile, right? That team are full of Agile professionals, Scrum professionals, but they're not in the day-to-day work. They are there, kind of like for people who are in the project management world, kind of like a PMO. If you think about how PMO is to project management, the centers of excellence in Agile are the same thing for Agile teams. So these are people who create like all of the artifacts, all of the processes that teams teams will follow. So someone has to keep on, and how can the company start to mature in Agile? And then there's other roles. Here, you can become a people manager, a leader, where Scrum Master is reporting to you. So you might say, oh, I've been a Scrum Master for years. I love to help people. I want to be able to become a people leader to Scrum Masters to help them in their career growth in the organization. I want to hire Scrum Masters, right? And then if you decide to go into more senior levels, there are executive leadership roles in Scrum for people who have been in the industry for so many years and become executives who are basically looking more at strategy, the long-term picture of how this whole thing fits into the organization. So that's a bit about it for those who want to grow into Scrum Master. There's other roles apart from Scrum Master roles that you can consider. Finally, what does the industry look? Why should you think about becoming a Scrum Master? Why does it even matter? A bit of just some numbers that I've picked from the internet from my research. Daily job vacancies in Canada, at the time I created this slide, there were about 5K plus roles on LinkedIn. I also checked in the US, 11K roles. So combined, we're looking at 16,000 roles open on platforms. Or please, can you go on mute?
Mommy, what are you doing?
Just give me a moment. How to mute. Okay, the person's on mute, right? So imagine there's lots of openings for Scrum Masters. If you've ever wanted to work remote, Scrum Master, if you go into Agile, you can work remote from anywhere in the world. And salaries, I mentioned this is Canadian, it's not USD. Entry-level salaries for Scrum Masters are in the range of 90K. Some might be in the range of 80, 85, but we're seeing that 90K is a starting point for new Scrum Masters. We didn't say experience, like new, in that 85 to 80K range. So salary range could range from anywhere from 90 to 148, depending on what roles you're doing. It could be Scrum, Lead Trainer, Engineer, Agile. So it's such a wide range. And the higher you go, the more you make, right? The higher you go. If you get to an executive, you're looking at more additional sums of money. And then the other is the ability to work in technology. We all know that tech is growing. Tech is so embedded in everything we do. Fast food, retail, financial services, government, and all of that, right? So if you ever wanted to get into technology without having coding skills, being a Scrum Master allows you to get into the lucrative technology and high demand technology industry. So you don't need technology experience at all and zero coding skills. You don't need to code. You don't need to have seen code in your life to be a Scrum Master. If you've seen code, all well and good, but you don't need it at all to be a good Scrum Master. And then finally, I always love to mention this job satisfaction. Personally, that is why I've stayed in the industry this long, and I will continue to stay, is helping others succeed. You're not doing the work as a Scrum Master, but you can see that your work matters because you're helping other people succeed by coaching them, by removing impediments, by creating an environment where they can do their best work. So the good thing is you don't work on weekends, no after work hours. I mean, except there's a deployment happening, but that's it, right? No working on weekends, no nothing. I'll just let people look at this a bit more before we move on. So, wow, we're good on time. So this is my final presentation today for the information session. And like I mentioned, the information session is to give you enough information about Scrum and Agile for you to determine, because I find like a lot of people I've spoken to are like, oh, I've heard about it, but I don't know what it's all about. And so this is the way for you to get enough information about it to be able to make a decision, or at least satisfy your curiosity about this. So I will play a video. What is the problem? Let me be sure that I'm sharing this with sound. Just give me a moment. I need to share sound. So I'm going to play a video. If you can't hear it, once I start, please, you don't need to go off mute. Just send me, just put a message in the chat and I would fix it, but it should work.
Complex projects can lead to real headaches. Organizing the team, changes in scope, roles that aren't clear. But you can change that with Scrum, an agile framework. At its foundation, Scrum can be applied to any project or product development effort. Here's how it works. A product owner creates the product backlog, a prioritized wish list. During sprint planning, the team pulls a chunk from the top of that list and decides how to complete it. The team has a set time frame, the sprint, to complete their work. They meet in a daily scrum to keep the work moving forward. Along the way, the Scrum Master keeps the team focused. At the end of the sprint, the work should be potentially shippable. The team conducts a sprint review on the product and a retrospective on the process. Then, they choose the next chunk of the backlog, and the cycle repeats. With Scrum, you can ensure the most valuable work has been completed by the time the project ends. Tackle your projects with Scrum.
Okay, so that is the end of the presentation. So I'll just talk about how can you become a Scrum Master with Redluxe. So we offer a simplified approach to empowering a new generation of Scrum Masters to fill the growing need for Scrum Masters. There's a need for Scrum Masters and good Scrum Masters. We have a Scrum training class. It's a 4-day Scrum training class. It happens on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. I'll show you, I'll share a screen about the next event. So during this, we do an introduction to Scrum theory, the roles and events, talk about the backlog, user story mapping, agile metrics, etc. So that's a 4-day event. But then we also offer, apart from that training, you will do a 3 to 4 weeks hands-on practice simulation. So practice simulation, some people call it the real life project. I love to call it the practice simulation because the simulation is we're trying to simulate a real life event. It is not going to fully address all of the different things you're going to see in a real Scrum team, but it will help you to understand these events. You will do the Scrum thing yourself. Somebody will be a Scrum Master, you get to do it, right? So experience Scrum using a real life project. So that's what we do. The 4-day Scrum training, introduction to all of the concepts, like deep introduction, more than what's covered here, and then 3 to 4 weeks of a practical hands-on simulation. And then you already take the Scrum Master certification. I always recommend people take the Professional Scrum Master 1. You take certification, and then you're ready to hit the ground running and get into the Scrum role. So don't forget to submit your questions. If you haven't, we're going into the panel discussion. So it's going to be a Q&A format. Let me see if we have anybody has submitted their questions. Okay, I love it. Questions are coming through. Lovely. What an audience. So if you missed it while I was talking, please go to slido.com, right? Check in the chat. You should see this. Go to slido.com. In this box, enter your code here. You don't need to sign up. Enter your questions, please, so that we can take the questions and answer. So we're going into the panel discussion. I have with me some amazing Scrum masters, some amazing professionals who are doing this already. We have, I'm just going to go clockwise. We have Jan Job. Jan Job is a Scrum master. Janice, I hope you can show your face if you're there. We have Janice, who's a Scrum master, as well as a project manager. We have Chioma Ukariaku, who's a product owner and also a Scrum master. And then we have Florence Ononuga, who is also a project manager and Scrum master. So you can see one of the things I love about this panel is that you can see they have multiple experience in this field. So I will start with Janice. If you could do a quick 2-minute introduction about yourself, what you do, a bit about your experience, and how you became a Scrum master. That would be great.
Sure. So my name is Jan Job. Everybody calls me Janice. And I've been working in project management for about 7 years. I started my career at TD. I worked as a project analyst and a PM, and then I transitioned off into Scrum, which was an amazing decision to make. I do work for another organization right now. So basically, as a Scrum Master, I help my team to remove any impediments. I facilitate the ceremonies. I help my team to thrive. And I work as a servant leader for my team. And let me tell you, it's the best decision I ever made. I love being a Scrum Master. It is a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a job that just keeps on giving. Because the good thing is we work and we have releases that go to production, and I get to, interact with the team, and I keep the environment very light. I keep it fun. I bring a little different kind of energy because I work with developers and analysts. So I bring a different type of energy to the team, but it is the best job I've ever had so far. And I have my PMP, I have my Scrum Master certification, and I have to admit, Pam, you have helped me so much. She's amazing. Let me tell you, I've called her all types of times, and she always been giving me great guidance. She's actually a fantastic mentor. So if you do take her program, I'm telling you, you are in the right hands, and it's a great industry to be a part of.
Awesome. Yeah, I love Janice. I'm so glad that you're enjoying the role and all of that, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So let me allow Chioma to introduce herself. Chioma, I'll spotlight you in a moment. If you could go off mute and introduce yourself. Adding you to the spotlight. Oh, I'm adding myself. Yep.
Okay. Yes. Thanks. Pamela, thank you everyone for, this opportunity. It's good to be here. And Scrum is one of those exciting topics any day, anytime. So I'm always happy to jump in. I've been a product management professional for over 13 years. And I've also had a lot of experience around, being a Scrum Master. I currently work in a product, management, or what some other organizations call product ownership role at the moment. But I have also worked in Scrum Master role. I've worked in different organizations, financial services, fintech companies, e-commerce related, initiatives, payments, lending, digital sales. I've worked in a lot of domains, and in all of those, I have had to practice Scrum, either as the product owner who is, telling what is being worked on or what is being built, who we're building those things for, why we are building those things, selling the ideas to the Scrum team and getting them, motivated to do the work. I have worked on those teams as a Scrum Master, where my role has been more around organizing the team, helping them to do their best work, clearing impediments, they may have or they may encounter, protecting the team and making sure that, people, business owners or other stakeholders don't just throw things at them while they are doing their work and distract them. So some of the things that as a Scrum Master I've had to do is to actually be mama bear and protect the team and make sure that they are allowed to do what they are meant to do at any given point in time. And generally also just ensure that that dynamics exists within the team and they're all working together as one. There's transparency, there is ownership, there is clarity. So those are some of the things that I've had to do as a Scrum Master in the roles that I have performed as a Scrum Master. And being able to do, I think I sit in a good place in the sense that I have the experience of the product owner, I have the experience of the product manager, and I have the experience of the Scrum Master. So it kind of gives me a well-rounded base to be able to, lead a Scrum team, guide a Scrum team, or work in a Scrum team. Another interesting thing for me is the fact that, like Pamela said, helping people to succeed. That's the lesson that comes with being a Scrum Master. The fact that you're not, the one who has to do the work, but you generally work with everyone who has to do the work to help them succeed and help them feel proud of whatever it is that they deliver. And I think those are my proud moments as a Scrum Master, when I see those things delivered and the accolade comes to the team. So it's a great career to be on. There are a lot of opportunities. It's quite lucrative, and I am having a fun-filled time.
Most of the time you're having a fun-filled time when there are no conflicts.
Yeah.
let's keep it real. Yeah, I agree.
What makes it fun.
Yeah,
The fact
exactly.
that you can never be bored. You can never. I can tell you for a fact because I'm one of those people. Once I master a thing, I'm done. I need to go to a new thing. But on this role, there is no boredom. Like it's
exactly.
So
I always say it's like when someone tells me, "Oh, I don't have a lot of things," and I'm like, I don't think you're looking around very well. There's things for you to do,
Yeah.
So let Florence. I don't know if Florence is Florence. So I want to introduce Florence on Nanuga. Florence who might not be able to go on video. She's trying to join this. She's multitasking. She's doing something else. So let me introduce Florence.
Hello, thank you, Noye. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm just gonna be I'm just gonna give a synoptic view because I know Shoma and Jan has really talked about the whole basis of Scrum. So my experience started as a project manager before I tried to move into the world of Agile. So I can focus solely on Scrum, but I still do a bit of project management as well. So Choma has said a lot about what the role entails, what you need to look out for, what you need to do, right? So if the first thing you want to do is you want to have the knowledge, right? What does the knowledge entail, right? Because you need to understand what the language, right? You need to understand how the process works. So those are the first thing you want to do. That will be your foundation. So you need this right knowledge. So after getting those right knowledge, right, the next step for you is to get experience, right? Look for any form of experience. It might be having an experiential opportunity or trying to shadow people that are already doing the work and all that. Okay, so that will help. So in the job, there are a lot to learn, there are a lot to do, right? I don't want to repeat myself based on what Choma and Joanna said, but what they said is basically what happened. So what I would just do is wait for your questions, then I can take some of the questions up and answer them. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, ladies. I love it. I did not deliberately have a female panel, I'll be honest, but I was like, wow, it's good though. At the end of the day, I was like, wow, women are just taking over technology. You can do it. So I'm not saying this out there for those who feel like, okay, I'm fascinated somehow. I just had an all-female panel. So awesome. Thanks, ladies, for that introduction. We have some questions, right? I will, and I'm going to put out there, and I'll just call on one of you to answer it. So the first question is PMP worthwhile taking is a PMP worthwhile taking along with Scrum Master? So for this question, I'm going to allow Florence and Jan to take this, because I know because they've been Scrum Masters for a very long. They've been project managers for a long time, also doing Scrum. So Florence, if you can take a few minutes to answer the first one. Is a PMP worthwhile taking along with Scrum Master? And then I would go to Jan.
Okay, so the first question is a PMP worthwhile taking along with Scrum Master? So
Yeah,
if you're
I think yes, certified Scrum Master, whichever one. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're a beginner and you really want to do Scrum, I would say focus on Scrum. Focus on Scrum and get it right? Get it right, understand it, get a role in Scrum. At that point, you're looking for a role that does not have a lot of project management involved. Try to say a role that focuses on Scrum. But to be candid, it's worthwhile for you to have PMP, because PMP is about project management. So it helps you to understand management. There are a lot of these project management will teach you, like understanding how people relate, interpersonal skills, a lot of other things, right? Which there's also the technical part of project management, right? But it's worth it. But if you are a beginner and you want to go into Scrum, focus on Scrum, get it right. Then as you build on your career, you can try to do PMP along the way, right? But it is worth it. It helps you with the management side of things a lot.
Thank you. So, Jan.
Sure, I will echo the same sentiments. I think when you're entering Scrum, I would definitely say focus on the Scrum certification. Once you get a role into Scrum, if you want to liaison and go into project management, then yes, PMP would definitely be a very helpful certification to have, because it's really highly respected and it does teach you a lot of the core things about project management. But essentially, to be an effective Scrum Master, you don't necessarily have to have a PMP. It's a nice to have, it's attractive because they feel like you have a project management background. So sometimes it may overlap depending what organization you support, but traditionally you don't need it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So, what is the difference between a Scrum Master and project manager? Who would like to answer this one?
Sure, I can answer. Project manager, I've worked in the project manager space. The biggest thing is I would say you're managing the budget, managing the schedule, you're managing the scope. You will see the value at the very end of the project per se. And as a Scrum Master, what I love about it is you're facilitating the ceremonies, you're teaching your team a mindset, teaching them a framework, you're helping them to thrive, you're helping them to remove impediments. To me, it's more fun to be a Scrum Master. It's like you interact with the team, and to me, that's I would say would be the biggest difference. I feel like as a project manager, you're tracking down tasks, you're tracking the risk. It's a lot more paperwork, whole lot more paper, a lot of artifacts that you're responsible for. And it's a lot more detailed. I feel like as a Scrum Master, it's like you're coming in and you're helping your team to make sure that you're creating an environment where they can thrive and do very well. And it's a different type of mindset and different type of responsibility. So that's
Okay.
what would be the biggest difference. I mean, with Scrum, you're delivering value after each generation. And with project management, we're doing waterfall, which means you at the very, very end, that's when you see the value.
Okay.
And
Chaba,
can
do you also want to take that as well? Difference
Yeah.
between a Scrum Master and a project manager?
Yeah, thanks. Before I do, Francis, could you please go on mute? Thank you.
I need to.
Okay. Yeah, basically for me, I will approach
Mm.
Okay, thanks. I'll approach it from the perspective of, the Scrum role itself. Scrum Master is a role in Scrum, and it's part of the Scrum team. But the project manager is not a role identified in the Scrum framework. And so there is no project manager role in Scrum, and is not part of the Scrum team. So that's like going by the books, right? Beyond that, I see the difference in what they do. A Scrum Master is part of the team, and so takes responsibility as well, just like every other member of the team, in terms of the success of that team or otherwise. In fact, a lot of the responsibility lies on the Scrum Master in terms of how successful the team is or otherwise, because you train, you coach, you guide, you help them to become their best selves. So if your team is not operating at that level of efficiency that they are capable of operating at, I would look to the Scrum Master to say, hey, okay, you need to check this again. You need to look into this again.
Awesome.
Unlike the project manager who is there to, like, I will use a term, whip master. Hey, let's move, let's move, let's move. This is a timeline. Let's get it on. This is a timeline. This milestone. Have we got this milestone? Have we hit it? Have we hit it? Have we hit it? Or what's the budget saying? Or do we have any risk? Those are the things that the project manager focuses on. They are not necessarily taking ownership of what's happening in the team the way that the Scrum Master is. The project manager's role, and it's nothing against the project manager, it's the role that they play. So the project manager's role is not such that it protects the team. It's a case of there's work to do, get it done. But the Scrum Master protects the team by understanding there is work to do, yes, but for this period, these 2 weeks, these 3 weeks, this 1 week, these 4 weeks of the Scrum cycle, we have committed to something, and that is what we will be delivering. And so anything else coming to the team that is outside of what has been committed, the Scrum Master focuses on kind of saving the team from all of that. So these are some of the things that a Scrum Master does that is different from what a project manager
would do. Yeah, that's a great response.
And so that's how I would differentiate them.
On a final note, I'll just say one thing. One of the key one thing finally is that when we think about projects and Scrum teams are what we call persistent teams. Persistent is that this team has been created and there's nothing like the product has finished and then the team is disbanded, right? There are some Scrum teams like that anyway, but most Scrum teams are built or are formed around a particular project, a particular product that continues to be developed, continues to be improved and enhanced. So those teams stay the same, they are persistent. Unlike a project that will have a start and end date, and the Scrum and the project manager is put on that project, the day that project goes live, after warranty, like everything is good, everything is working great, that team is disbanded, no longer exists. It just goes, project manager goes away, team goes away. The Scrum team will continue to stay the same, working on the same product backlog, on the same product, with the same Scrum Master, persistently, unless something changes in the team. Okay, so I'm looking at time and we have 16 minutes. So I just want us to keep the answers a bit short because I feel like there might be, I also want to open it up in case someone wants to speak from the participants. So Shaba, I'm going to bring this up for you because this is like your area, your product manager, product owner, and Scrum Master. How would I better determine for me, how would I determine which would be a better fit for me between Scrum Master and Product Manager? Scrum Chairman, please answer.
Yeah, thanks. Now that's a very good question. I think the first thing I would raise here would be, what's your motivation? So as a product manager or a product owner, what motivates me is problem solving. I want to Like I see a problem, how do we solve it? How do we get a solution out of this? That's what motivates me as a product manager, as a product owner. On the other hand, as a Scrum Master, what motivates me is efficiency. How do I get my team to be a well-oiled machine? How do I get my team to do their best work? How do I get these people that have to do this thing to be the exact, replica of excellence that I need them to be? So depending on what, motivates you, it could also be, as a Scrum Master, being able to work with people to guide them without being like pushing them or without telling them what to do, So that motivation is what you want to figure out. Based on what it is, you will know which direction you want to be at. As a product manager, I give a lot of instructions. That's the role of a product manager. And sometimes I find myself like, having to remind myself, remember what role you're playing. And so I put myself in the role that I'm supposed to be in. That comes with having multiple hats. But motivation is the first thing. Intent. Why are you looking to go in that direction? So if you're someone who loves to solve problems, if you're someone who is innovative, product management, ownership, that's more like where you want to go. If you're someone who wants to guide people, coach people, lead them to help them to become their best possible selves, Scrum Master is the way to go. So that's how
Thank you so much.
answer that.
Thanks, Chama. So I have a question. Can you give a clearer example of what a Scrum Master does? How are you leading? What are you saying to the team? And what does a day look like? What are your challenges? So I'll take this question. What I want to say here is that this is a lot of questions in one, and this basically is the training that you have to do to understand what a Scrum Master does. But at the high level, just basically, I would say that Scrum involves roles, events, artifacts, and a host of other things, right? So what the Scrum Master does is all of the events in Scrum, right, is the Scrum Master is going to help to facilitate them. The daily stand-up, which happens daily, 15 minutes, Scrum Master would, set up that meeting, set up the event. We don't call them meetings, but it's a meeting anyway. Set it up, make sure it's in people's calendar, make sure that people stay on the time box. So time box is, if we're going to have this event for 15 minutes, the Scrum Master coaches them on keeping time box, making sure they keep it 15 minutes, and also keeping them focused on the objective of that event. The other event, sprint planning, is where the team decides, this is what we're going to work on in the next iteration, in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever is the time that the team works on their small incremental value. The Scrum Master makes sure that that planning event happens. Sprint review, where the team reviews what they've worked on during the sprint and see, did they meet their sprint goals? Are there going to be any changes in the upcoming sprint? That kind of thing. So like I said, very, very detailed, and that's not the purpose of the Scrum ceremony. This is something that we cover in a 4-day training, about 3 to 4 hours long. And then the sprint retrospective, this is looking back. If we look back at how we worked in the last sprint, in the last 2 weeks, in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, how did we perform? What did we do well? What did we not do well? And how can we improve, right? So if you want to know more, I'll tell you more. I'll tell you at the end of this session, we're going to talk about how you can get to know more about this. So and it's the same thing about how you say, how SMs guide how. So like I already talked about, this addressed by that is making sure that the Scrum events are happening, coaches the teams on Scrum itself. So reach out to me to find out more about training so that you can learn that. How would I determine? Okay, we already answered this one. Yeah, we haven't answered this. So what skills do I need to be an effective Scrum Master? What are some skills required? So I'm going to I'm going to open up the floor to I want you guys to give 2 each, like just 2, just basic brief responses to each. So for Florence, what 2 skills do you think an effective Scrum Master should have 2? And then I'll go on to the next one.
So 2 skills, you need to have at least 1 facilitation skills or / coaching skills, then teaching skills.
Okay, good. Chama?
I'd say communication and timeliness, being time conscious.
Awesome. Jan? Janice, are you there? No, don't think so. Okay, let's move on. Oh, you're mute.
Yes, you put everyone on mute.
Yeah, what 2 skills? So just basic,
Sure.
like 2 skills.
I would say communication and facilitating, very crucial skills. Organizing,
Awesome.
very important.
Thank you. Good. So this question is, what is the minimum age requirement to delve into Scrum? I'll just answer quickly. There's no minimum age to delve into Scrum. It's about get training, get your certification, and get the job. That's it. I like this question. I really like this question.
No, yeah, at least 18 plus.
Well, I think it's going without saying that you can't get a job. Like you can't get a job until then, right? Like if we can put 18 plus, but basically you're an adult and you can work, but there's no minimum age requirement in my mind. Like in terms of like, we know that for sure, you're not going to be working in corporate at 12, so. Okay, so does the Scrum Master report to both the PO and the PM, either or neither? So we mentioned the Scrum, so I'll just like to say here, there are no leaders in Scrum. Nobody in the team reports to anybody. So in a Scrum team, the Scrum Master does not report to PO, does not report to PM. The PO does not report to the Scrum Master. The PM does not report to the Scrum Master. The developers don't even report to Scrum Master or the PO. There's no reporting structure in Scrum. Does anybody else want to add any color to this?
I'll just add a little to that. There is no reporting structure. However, when you get into your organization, it's structured differently, right? The project management structure or the way products are managed, right? Those structure, those processes do not really fit into what organizations were very familiar with already, right? So there will be some disorganizations, right? But you need to still understand that there is no reporting line. But you might get into some organization, it will be different. It doesn't mean there's a reporting line, but that organization is still using the, traditional structure from human resource.
That's a good point to note. Yeah. Who else wants to take this? 1 minute. Sharma or Jan, does anybody want to also talk about the?
Yeah, I would just add that it's not a reporting structure, it's not a hierarchy. But one thing to also call out is the fact that in a Scrum team, a product owner can actually decide, let's kill the product we're building. So in that sense, the product owner has that role, has that authority to say, we're no longer building this, right? Maybe things have changed. So just to raise that, so people are.
Yeah, so this question is really specific around, for me, I think it's about reporting structures. I do agree, like if you learn about Scrum, you understand the roles and responsibilities and the accountabilities of each of the different roles, where the PO is essentially owns the backlog, right? And so they do have that decision-making right on a product for sure. Yeah. Okay, I like this question. It says, I have an introverted and timid personality. Will Scrum be a good fit for me? Does one need to be an introvert to be a Scrum Master? Who would like to take this? Shama, do you want to
I want to
respond to this?
with James.
John, go first. If
Yeah, John, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sure. I would have to say you have to have an outgoing personality because you're dealing with all levels of the business. You're dealing with developers, which are traditionally introverts as is, and analysts that are introverts, POs, and stuff like that. So because you're going to be constantly in communication with many different people on the team and stuff like that, I think it'd be highly recommended to be somewhat, even if you're not an introvert, act like you're an extrovert. Because again, they want to feel comfortable to speaking to you. They want to be comfortable sharing their impediments with you. There's this element of transparency. So you have to bring a certain energy to the team where they feel welcome to share things that are going on. So I think it's all about creating that environment where they feel that they can talk about what's going on with the project.
Mhm.
So even if you are introvert, I would say pretend to be an extrovert.
I love that part. Does
Pretend.
anybody want to
Love
also
acting
respond
there.
to this?
So
Yeah,
pretend
would
to be
add
an
to that and
extrovert.
say,
Pretend.
yeah, I'll add to that and say that being introverted or extroverted, it doesn't really, it doesn't make much of a difference, honestly. That's how I see it as a Scrum Master. And I'm gonna say that because there is one critical skill of being a Scrum Master: communication. If you know how to communicate, you will be able to work well with your team, whether you are an introvert or an extrovert. Now, understanding the role you play helps you to know what to do with the team, what is it you're trying to do with your team, and how to do it. So forget whether you know how to, chum, pally with people. That's not really what is required. It helps, maybe, but understanding the role and having that pure intention to make your team be the best, I think that's what you need.
Awesome. Florence, do you have anything else to add?
I'll add to that. I'm not an extrovert, and I can tell you I excel in that role. Okay.
But you're not
So-
timid. I would say
No,
that
I'm
for
not
sure, because
timid.
I know you.
I'm not timid. So I understand where Jen is coming from in terms of you need to bring the energy when you need to bring that energy. Because if people can't feel your energy, they don't come to you. They keep their issues or they take it somewhere else, right? So
Yep.
they need to feel that energy, right? But as Chioma said as well, you need to understand the role. When people know you know what you're doing, they know that you understand the role. When you speak, when there is a conflict, how you resolve those conflicts. When they know you know how to do all those things, they will naturally tend to come to you to solve their impediment. So you don't really need to be an extrovert, but communication, you have to have it. But even if you're an introvert, bring up the energy when it's necessary. You can't be doing retrospective and you just like you're there. Your energy has to be top notch, right?
Awesome.
So,
I really love all these perspectives. So one of the things I also do sometimes when I look at things like this is I put on a coaching hat, right? And I always tell people self-awareness is the first step to growth, right? So the fact that you know that you're introverted and timid tells me that there's an opportunity for you to thrive on the road because you're already thinking, right? And saying, if this is my personality, would this be a good fit for me? And so that's where it starts from, right? And so, yes, there's no issues with introverted and timid personalities getting to Scrum. If you are aware that this is how you are, then what you need to do is ask yourself, how do I thrive in this role, even though I'm like this, right? You won't be like every other Scrum Master. You're going to be unique. You're going to look for, there are skills that you have today that will help you thrive on the job. And like I said, like knowing the job, like trying to bring some of that energy. And knowing that you're going to have to be protecting the team as some of the things. So one of the things I always recommend to people who feel they're in that bucket is ask for feedback from people you trust. You might have someone, an agile coach who you trust that joins the team. Ask for feedback to see the areas that you might need to improve, right? It's all about coaching and you get better. Thanks, ladies. So we're almost at the end. Is an SM a cheerleader? Guys, I'll just say just quick question or quick one. Is this yes or no? I mean, for me, an SM is a cheerleader. Do you guys see it any differently?
Yeah, for me, Scrum Master is a cheerleader. You have to get your team to perform.
Yep.
I agree.
Thanks, ladies. Who does a Scrum Master report to? Florence touched on this before. So a Scrum Master will report into whatever org structure exists in the company you are in. There's the Scrum guide or Scrum does not have anything about reporting structure. Your reporting structure is going to be based on what exists in the organizational structure that you already work in. But within the team, Scrum Masters don't report into anybody inside that team. But again, there's different flavors for different organizations. You go with what best happens in your organization. That there's some things you can't fight against. There's some things you're just gonna have to walk with as long as you're in that company. If it doesn't sit right with you, you can leave. So we're at the last question, which is great. So I will get into the Scrum Master course. So the last question we're going to take is, what are the handshakes between Scrum Master and change management? I'm going to put Florence on the spot to answer this. She's been my friend for years, and me and her, we've done things like this before. And she has a change management certification. She's a Scrum Master. She's a PMP. So, what are the handshakes? I have my thoughts around this, but I see it from a different perspective. But I want Florence to respond to this question.
Deal with them.
This is a very interesting one. So the handshake between Scrum Master and change management. So for me, it depends on how the organization is structured. Because if you're running a product, right? If you're structured in such a way that you have a product that you're managing, right? There's a product owner on the team, right? The product owner tends to do all the things that has to do with the change management, right? If the product owner is not doing the things that have to do with the change management, the product owner is already a delegate for the business that is going to use that product, right? So they always have someone that might be in charge of marketing, in charge of all this communication, newsletters, and all that, telling them, oh, this new feature is coming on the product and all that, right? So the product owner in a product environment is practically responsible to ensure all the change management activities happens, right? If the product owner might not be the one doing it, the product owner coordinates with the person on the business side that let them understand that, oh, this feature we're building is coming, let people know this is coming. You might even have a communication manager on the business, but they relate with the product owner based on what the Scrum team is developing or what the Scrum team is ready to push out. So that's why how that change management is managed when it comes to product. But when you are doing project management or iterative waterfall, right? So the exchange is mostly between the project team.
Yeah, go ahead.
The exchange is majorly between the project team and the change management team.
Okay, come say my fridge.
Okay, so the change is always between the project management team and the change management team, right? Sometimes the change management team might be part of the project team, or they are separate, right? So depend on your. Someone is just interrupting.
Yeah, go ahead. Just hold on. So hold on, Florence. I'm going to mute everybody, and then you unmute yourself. So Florence, unmute yourself now.
Okay, so in that scenario where it is a project-based organization, the change management team can be part of the project team where as the project is going on, they are working on the technical side. The change management team is working on the people side of change, letting them understand what is coming. Or they might be a separate organization where the project management has to inform them of the changes that are coming, and the change management team ensures that the organization is aware, the organization take care of the adoption and making sure that people use those new feature or product that is coming. So depending on how your organization is structured, it will affect how change management will happen.
All right, thank you.
Good answer.
Oh, awesome. I love this. Thank you, Omotayo, for this response. So thanks, Jen, Choma, and Florence for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend the day with me. I brought you here because I felt with myself, I don't like, I don't want talk, right? I'm sure everybody doesn't want to hear my voice. I wanted to bring in different perspectives from different people, right? We give people a balanced view of what this is all about, and get your views, because you're doing the work on a daily basis, right? So there's a question there. Someone was asking about the training. So that's this is our final slide. I want to first of all thank you all for spending the day. I know we're 5 minutes over time, so I'm going to try to wrap this up in 5 minutes, and I'll tell you how you can follow up if you have questions. So you asked about the training. So this is a flyer for our training session. So if you attended this call today, you get 50% off our training fee if you register before January 13th. So if you attended, you want to go ahead with our training, then it's 50% off. The training is $1,250 Canadian. So if you join today, you're getting value of $1,250. You just have to pay 50% of that. And I'll just go back to the slide that talks about what you get for this training. You're getting a 4-day Scrum training introduction to all of the concepts of training, and then we'll be doing a 3 to 4 weeks hands-on practical training. So that's what you get for our training, 50% off if you joined this session. Please, if you have to take a screenshot, you can take that now. This is how you can contact us. All of our socials are here. LinkedIn will be joining soon. I just need to get that set up. So you can follow us at Redluxe Consulting on Instagram, Redluxe, REDLUXE Consulting. I'm using a generic website right now, so you need to actually have this somewhere. So it's a Google website. You can go there to keep in touch with us. There's forms that you can use to contact us. That is my phone number. I prefer text messages and WhatsApp messages, and then we can book a time to call. And then most importantly, my email is redluxe.consulting@gmail.com. redluxeconsulting@gmail.com. And like I mentioned, for joining this session, you get 50% off, not registering actually, for those that attended the session, made out time on a Saturday. They could have been doing their Christmas shopping or Netflix and chilling or whatever, but they showed up for this training. You do get 50% off. And I really want to thank you all for joining this session. You guys are amazing. I'm looking forward to hearing from you all soon. If you have a moment, I just want to do a screenshot of our attendees. Just give me a moment. Let me just do this. I want to take a picture. So can you show your face if you're comfortable? Let's take a picture. Let's take a picture. Don't worry. It doesn't matter how you look. Okay, I will be taking the picture now. Look at you all looking so beautiful from different parts of the world. Yay. So this ends our